If we snapped our fingers and every single illegal immigrant in the United States disappeared, we would literally starve to death. You wonder why I'm so passionate about agriculture and so passionate about immigration as part of agriculture? It's that, guys. You don't know the whole picture. Now, should we have illegal immigrants working in the field? Should we have illegal immigrants working in construction? Should we have illegal immigrants working in hotels and wherever else they might be? No, we shouldn't. But they are, and there's tens of millions of them working in the system. So, if we just say, hey, they got to get out of here, well, you have to have a solution before you just send people out the door. Now, I'm not talking about ethics today, and I've talked a lot about ethics. Let's just talk about economics. Let's just talk about the reality of economics. You send 10 million people out the door that are filling 10 million roles in the United States, and 80% of those people are working in agriculture. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to eat tomorrow if there's all of a sudden not people there to harvest, to pick, to pack, to drive the tractors, to do everything? Pretty quick, you'd find yourself without any food in your mouth, any food in your stomach, and you would be starving to death. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because we can't just be stupid. We have to have a solution. The ethics aside, I'm frustrated by the ethics because I know the people that we're talking about, but I think you still want to eat. So no matter what, we got to look at a solution and not just complain about all of the people who are here illegally, because you'll starve to death without them.
Oh wow, we have some breaking news. It turns out that if you deport all your farm workers, nobody's around to pick your crops. Groundbreaking stuff. This New York Times article by Linda Chu reports that the Trump administration, you know, the same people who promised a 100% American workforce with higher wages and better benefits, just quietly filed government paperwork admitting their crackdown is causing, and I quote, significant disruptions to production costs, threatening the stability of domestic food production. They wrote that with their hands and submitted it to the federal government. So what's the master plan? Now, stay with me here. Their plan is to bring the immigrant workers back. You know, the ones that they just deported, except this time they're going to pay them less, because in 2025, out of more than 400,000 farm job postings that legally required an American applicant first, 182 Americans applied. 182. And a farmer in Colorado said it so the rest of us didn't have to. We can't farm without going back to guest workers. Going back. Billions spent, families destroyed, people died, and the conclusion after all of that is, okay, fine, we need them, but let's slash their pay by up to $7 an hour and make them live in employer-owned housing. A New York Times journalist called it exactly what it is, indentured service. That's the 100% American workforce they promised you. Receipts, not speculation.
Trump went on Fox News and basically said, we shouldn't have kicked the immigrants out. The farmers ain't got nobody. The inner city people ain't gonna do it, so we need to bring them back.
Sending them back, and then they're schooling, they're learning, they're coming in legally. We have a lot of that going on. So we're taking care of our farmers. We can't let our farmers not have anybody, these are these people, you can't replace them very easily. You know, people that live in the inner city are not doing that.
Damn right, the people in the inner city ain't doing that work. He basically thought he was going to deport everybody and then we was going to go back in those fields. What the hell this man was thinking? Those days is over and they ain't coming back. Now he want to think about bringing the immigrants back because farmers are struggling. You should have thought about that beforehand. You already knew these people wasn't going to survive because you took away they people to help run their shit. Now he doubling down and he want them to come back legally.
For years, one message echoed across America. Immigrants are stealing American jobs. It became a rally cry, a political weapon, a promise of change. But today, that promise is facing a harsh reality. Welcome to Truth Verdict. Please relax as we break down the discussion. Credit to the Stitches video used in this documentary.
The Trump administration is now counting on migrant workers to help fix the labor shortage hitting American farmers. I'm Major League, and this is news you need to know. The New York Times is reporting that President Trump is now considering a plan to allow farmers and business owners to vouch for undocumented staff to keep them from being deported. This comes after agricultural leaders and officials like California Governor Gavin Newsom warned that the industry is being hit hard by labor shortages due to ICE raids and the Trump administration's immigration policy. And I'm sure you'll be surprised to learn that the MAGA supporters that have spent the last year relentlessly thirsting for mass deportations have proven to be unwilling to get in these fields and take these low-paying jobs on U.S. farms. Under the proposal the Trump administration is considering, workers who have no criminal record could receive a pass to stay in the country if their employers advocate for them. The administration is reportedly working on the specific details of this legislation to ensure that those businesses stay functional. It is important to point out that this measure would allow private employers to decide who gets to stay and who gets to leave. This dramatically changes the power dynamic between workers and bosses. So instead of just ceding the point that immigrants are actually vital to our economy, they are now putting these undocumented workers' citizenship status in the hands of corporate farmers and bosses.
So immigrants were stealing American jobs up until Americans actually had to do them? So the Trump administration has quietly lowered the price for H-2A visas, so farmers can bring migrant workers back to the country to work on farms. Why, you ask? Because America has spent the last year vilifying immigrants. But the second that labor disappears, the government is like, well, maybe we should think about bringing them back. Because see, before the election, Americans swore up and down that immigrants were taking these jobs and an American would work on a farm and do this stuff. So where are the Americans at? Are they suddenly allergic to farm work? Migrants were pushed out, threatened with detention camps, and treated like criminals. So why should they come back just to pick crops? So I'm asking y'all, should migrants come back to work on the farms? Or should they stay away because America made it clear they ain't safe here?
As usual, another one of Donald Trump's stupid failed policies blew up in his face, and now he's trying to just pretend it didn't happen. Because when he first started his mass deportations, just like experts predicted and like we all said for months, it's going to raise unemployment. It's also going to cause prices to go up and cause food shortages because half of our agricultural workforce are migrants. And of course, somehow because us dumb average people here on TikTok are somehow smarter than the genius businessman, we now also have massive labor shortages, which Trump is now trying to replace with migrant workers. He's making it cheaper to hire migrant farm workers on temporary visas under H-2A. So hilariously, after the Republicans for decades claiming that immigrants are taking our jobs, Trump got rid of the jobs that the migrants were working, and now he's actually replacing American workers with cheap migrant labor, making it so they can forcibly be paid less, too. It's displacing farm workers that have been working in the fields and putting food on their dinner tables for decades, bringing in a workforce that is even more vulnerable to abuse. But this has been going on in the Republican Party for fucking decades. They create a problem or pretend that something is a huge problem, and then their way to fix it is to make the whole thing worse or to make that false prophecy come true. The best example is the transgender bathroom bills. They made a huge hullabaloo about transgender people attacking women in bathrooms, which never fucking happens. But they hyped it up as if it was this huge problem, so we needed to address it. So then they started making bathroom bans where they said that transgender people had to use the bathroom of the gender they were assigned at birth. So now in places where they've enacted these laws, they are forcing people who have fully transitioned with a big, huge beard to go into women's bathrooms. Hey presto, they suddenly created the problem that was not there to begin with. So just to recap here, Republicans have been claiming for years that Democrats are coming for your guns. And the only president who said he advocates taking away people's guns without due process is Donald Trump. The Republicans have been claiming for years that every Democrat is a pedophile, yet the people who are overwhelmingly in the Epstein files with Donald Trump as the ringmaster are Republicans. It's also the Republicans who keep crashing Grindr and keep getting caught for soliciting young teenage boys. The Republicans have been claiming that Democrats are the party of war, yet Donald Trump is starting wars with everyone all over the fucking planet. They claim that Democrats want to raise taxes, as Trump cuts taxes for billionaires and raises them on the rest of us. And now we've come full circle with their hypocrisy yet again, as they are hiring cheap migrant labor in order to take American jobs.
Another policy shift. Another unexpected consequence. Experts warn it will happen. Now, it's happening. Unemployment concerns are rising. Food prices are climbing. And across American farmland, there is a growing crisis. half of American farm workers have historically been immigrants, but after crackdown, deportation, and fear spreading through immigrant community, the workforce did not just sink, it vanished. The result, crops left unpicked, food supply chain strained, production costs rising, and suddenly the narrative began to shift. Even as some continue to claim immigrants take jobs, a quiet policy change tells a different story. The government has lowered the cost of H-2 visa, a program designed to bring in foreign agri workers. Why? Because the job America said they wanted are still empty. Out of 415,000 farm jobs legally required to be offered to American first, only 182 applied. Let that sink in. So where are the workers? Are Americans unwilling, or is the system more complicated than the slogan suggests? Even the Labor Department has acknowledged the challenge. Finding workers, especially for farms, is becoming increasingly difficult. The same policy that promised fully American workforce are now being blamed for disruption in food production. Internal reports quietly admit these crackdowns are increasing costs and threatening the stability of food supply for every American. Meanwhile, many immigrant workers, once essential to the system, has been pushed out. Some facing detention, others choose not to return. Now, the question is no longer political, it's practical. If the workers are gone and the jobs remain, who fill the gap? To adapt, some proposals suggest lower wages or offsetting payment with housing. But will that solve the problem or deepen it? America wanted fewer immigrants in the workforce. Now, it faces a new reality, an economy that may still depend on them. So here is the question. Should immigrant workers be encouraged to return, or should they stay away after being told they were not welcome? If you believe in honest conversation and rich story, like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to True Verdicts, because the truth deserves a voice. To everyone watching, thanks for being part of a community that values truth, critical thinking, and honest conversation. Stay informed, stay curious, and always question the narrative. See you in the next episode of True Verdicts. Bye.